Thank you for joining me here at the Real ResQ podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. When you get a chance, go to verticalhelicast.com. Check out not only this podcast, but Hangar Z, the helicopter podcast, and the Vertical MRO podcast. Now, a shout out to the sponsors of this episode. That's Ready Swimmer, physical training and mental preparation for those called to serve. Check them out at readyswimmer.com. And of course, the realrescuestore.com. Get the gear for your favorite podcast at the realrescuestore.com. Now, coming up next in this ASTerisk episode, we are joined by two guys out of Travis County Starflight in Texas. They come to us and share the techniques that they've developed to combat exertional heat stroke in the field. When their patients get too hot, they go in and take care of it right there. They're using ice, cold water, and chilled IV fluids, just to give you a little heads up. But they didn't want to just keep it in-house. They wanted to share this information with the world, which is why they came on the Real ResQ podcast. So please welcome our next two guests and what they're doing to combat hyperthermia in the field, Dr. Taylor Ratcliff and flight paramedic Brandon Solomon. My name is Jason Quinn. I am United States Coast Guard Rescue Swimmer number 500. These are my rescues and rescues from those of us that put our lives on the line every day so others may live. This is the Real ResQ podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Real ResQ. Today, we have an ASTerisk episode. And the reason we have an ASTerisk episode is we're going to dial deep into some information here that we want to pass on to everybody out there. Joining me today, Travis County Starflight, Dr. Taylor Ratcliff. Hello, Doc. Good to see you.
Hey, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Of course. And flight paramedic, hoist operator, and rescue specialist, Mr. Brandon Solomon. How you doing, Brandon?
Good, Jason. Thanks for having me.
Heck yeah. So the reason that we got together is you guys have been doing some amazing things down in Texas with the Travis County Starflight. And one of them is like literally ice bath in the bush or out in the field. And you're bringing this capability via helicopter to somebody that's in dire need of heat exhaustion, heat stroke, heat emergency. Something's going on out there, and you guys have like found a solution to a problem that I think we all probably have, but nobody like really thinks about it until you guys. So, but before we get into that, Brandon, if you don't mind, what I'd love to have is just a little background, like a little bit of background on you, how you got into Travis Starflight, paramedic, little history about Brandon.
Yeah, sounds great. I actually hail from Maryland. I started there as a firefighter EMT. I progressed into paramedic. I actually became a state trooper in Maryland, did their aviation program. So I was a flight paramedic trooper with the state police. Then saw an opening for Starflight, and I said, well, I'm going to go try that. And I applied, and here I am in Texas.
That's awesome. Did you fly on the 139 up there?
I did, yes.
You did? You know Russ Zulik?
No, he might have been before my name or after.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just checking because Russ and I flew together in Kodiak, Alaska, and there's a couple other guys I know up there in Maryland. And I'm trying to get those guys on to actually come because they've got some amazing stories up there. My goodness. So
I'll send them your link. Yeah.
All right. I appreciate that. Right on. All right, Doc, to you. A little background about you, please.
Well, not as cool as Brandon. I haven't done a lot of things that he did, but I grew up in the panhandle of Texas in Lubbock. That's the home of the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Guns up. And
yeah. And the Buddy Holly Museum. What?
Oh, Jason, you know this. This is good. Yeah. How do you know?
I have been to Lubbock.
I'm sorry, man. No, but there's some.
I didn't stay long.
Yeah, good people. Very windy, very dirty, dusty. Anyway, I was a firefighter paramedic there for about 10 years and had a brief stint flying with an air medical company up there, this AeroCare. Shout out to all those guys. And then somehow or another, I don't know what happened. I fell on my head, got a concussion, and wound up in med school at Tech. And residency brought us to Central Texas, and I started meeting a lot of really good people that worked for Travis County Starflight. And so, one of my goals was to be an EMS physician. That's really what I wanted to do with my life. And when they opened up an associate medical director position, just because they expanded and more people under medical direction and everything else, and so they asked me to come on board to work with Dr. James Kempema, and it's been an absolute honor and privilege to get to work with people like Brandon, to talk to you and stuff like that. So cool organization, great place.
Right on. Thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Lubbock, Texas. I swear to God, I've been there. It's crazy. Yeah. Who knew? Such a small spot. Anyway. All right. So we're going to get into why you guys are here. Again, it's that heat-related injuries for our victims, our patients that are out in the field on location, and you're going to get them. Now, for people that don't know, Texas is a pretty big state. Just going to throw that out there, right? And there's a lot of areas that you need a helicopter in order to transfer a patient from point A to point B. But you've got people that have hyperthermia out there in the field, and you guys are doing something that seems to be working very well. So please do elaborate.
Maybe, Brandon, you want me to kind of start with a little bit of the history behind the cooling technique, and then you can sort of talk about how we implemented the program. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
Okay, because we know that's what everybody's tuning in to hear about, is how Brandon figured out how to do this with the helicopter. But a little bit of the medicine on the front end. So actually, interesting segue to Lubbock, right? In Lubbock, we didn't really run across heat stroke victims. Granted, Texas is getting hotter, but the humidity level there was so low that people could effectively cool off. And so it really wasn't until I moved to Central Texas and started doing some event medicine and things like that I even really learned about exertional heat stroke. And it's pretty gnarly. If you look back across our medical literature, probably over the last 10 to 15 years, Jason, there wasn't, prior to that, there wasn't a ton about exertional heat stroke cooling, right? And especially using the technique of full body. And we always joke, it's full body, not full body, right? Like leave the head and mouth out of the water. But
from the chin below, so you can still breathe. I'm just going to throw that out there.
I mean, you have mask and snorkel, you'd be fine. But anyway.
Thanks.
So anyway, so a lot of, I think what was happening is, I think a lot of high profile cases happened where people had exertional heat stroke and either were significantly damaged or died. There's some great organizations out there like the Corey Stringer Institute and some other programs like that have really done a lot of education. But it was really like our athletic training community that sort of sounded this alarm and said, hey, if you have somebody that's having exertional heat stroke, you have to rapidly cool them. And undoubtedly today, what we know is the fastest way to do that is to do full body ice water immersion. It is superior to any other technique. Interestingly enough, people can go online and Google this and they can find the article. The military even tried to do a study tying in the whole helicopter thing where they laid victims underneath the rotor disc of a helicopter and had it spin up at a high idle and tried to cool them with the downdraft of the helicopter, which, heat stroke victims are confused. So confused people walking around a running helicopter, it's probably fine, right? Nothing's going to happen.
Probably fine.
Probably. But anyway,
I didn't know that. That's wild.
Yeah, people have tried all kinds of stuff, and the military is focused on this a lot too, things like ice sheets and everything else. But again, when you look at all that literature, the fastest way to cool somebody down is again full body ice water immersion. So again, there's some decent literature on the topic out there. The other thing that's pretty neat is if you catch somebody soon after they have exertional heat stroke and you cool them, you stop the damage. Like if you get them down, to a safe temperature, you stop the damage process. Because if we don't, the listeners will kind of understand this, right? Especially the ones with a medical background. Heat stroke really turns into heat sepsis. What actually happens inside the body is when you get that hot, your body starts to release all these toxic chemicals and messengers and everything else that basically trick the body into almost thinking it's septic, with an infection. And so the body starts attacking the organs. The organs don't function correctly. There's brain damage that occurs, and all these just irreparable things that happen that you can't go back from if you have a severe heat stroke. So the cool thing is unlike a lot of other problems in medicine, we have an answer for this. And again, it's ice water immersion.
Wow. Seems so simple, but
It
yet,
is.
again, right. I mean, and you know what? I do an ice bath now. I absolutely love it. A lot of it for the inflammation and then the norepinephrine and all the benefits health wise. But you guys are literally bringing an ice bath to the field. Like, I don't know if anybody else has ever done that. So, Brandon, what made you come up with this?
Yeah, so a group of us on the line sort of noticed the problem. We actually had a call where, you know, it came out as a stroke. We responded to the scene. It ended up being a heat stroke. So we gathered up as much ice as we could to start cooling the patient. And it's like, well, what if this would happen out on a trail in our wilderness, our greenbelt areas, our contiguous counties? So we sort of improvised a like soft-sided cooler, went to our management with it, and of like, what if we hook this to the hoist and we're able to lower this down into the wilderness? So we went out and test flew it, and it flew just like any other equipment delivery piece. And it's like, okay, that's cool. We can do that. And then sort of what do we need down to build an ice bath in the environment is pretty much we pack the cooler with 30 pounds of ice with 4 bottles of water. Those can be used to sort of make liquid to like make an actual pool or to pack in the groins and axilla. And then in there we have chilled saline as well. To once we have IV access to get chilled saline, but the main important thing there is the ice that cools the patient a lot better than the chilled saline. And we carry pretty much like a mega mover or it's almost like a tarp, right? And we just lay it out, put the ice down, put the patient in it, and start cooling right there at the point of injury.
No way. Oh my gosh. It seems so simple, yet so simple. Like,
Yeah,
that's amazing.
yeah.
All right. So when
Yeah,
you say water bottles, how much water are you taking? Are you talking like the 5-gallon dispensary water bottles? Something like that?
nope, just four. Yeah, no, 4 12-ounce water bottles that little plastic
Tw-
water bottles.
no way. Really?
Yeah, yep,
Okay. All right. So four
yeah,
12-ounce water bottles and then a cooler packed with, you said 30 pounds of ice.
yeah. We weighed it. It ended up being about 30 pounds of ice, but packed to the brim.
Wow. And you send the whole cooler down?
Yep. So we'll send that down, either just the cooler if our fire department brothers and sisters just want the cool, or they'll send it down with a rescuer, and we can start the point of cooling there and either go out by big wheel or package them up and hoist them back up to the aircraft. So it's pretty neat of just delivering the equipment, delivering the care we need. Maybe the hoisting isn't all about taking them out, but where it counts in hyperthermia is getting them cooled right there, because there's going to be a delay inevitably, right, in walking
Right.
somebody out, and that 30 minutes could be brain to the person.
All right. So first I want to ask about your testing. So you guys go out and test this. Now imagine that like it would be me as the victim or as the test subject, and you come out and you hoist this stuff down, which is awesome, by the way. Just like taking out 4 12-ounce bottles of water. I still love that. All right. You get down, and now all of a sudden you're putting ice on me as the victim, yeah? When you were testing it? Did you have your victim? Did you see a core temperature go down with your test subjects?
So it was mainly built off of the studies that Doc can allude to of how much ice will drop somebody's core temperature compared to like chilled saline alone or just convection. Doc, if you can elaborate on that.
I think one of the problems with, I mean, Jason, you've worked in the environment. You know exactly how difficult it is. Doing medical research in the pre-hospital environment is really, really hard. It's hard because you don't have the same patient every time. You don't have the same situation every time. You don't have the same circumstances. So it's really hard to standardize things. So there are people that are listening right now going, well, that's not enough to cool somebody down. I understand that. On the ground side, we may use gallons and gallons of water. We may use pounds of ice and pounds of ice to cool somebody, but it's all about, what do you have available at the time, and something's better than nothing. So, Brandon had kind of talked about at least starting to get them cooled off. And he also mentioned the IV fluids. So there have been studies that have been done as well about giving chilled IV fluids. They do reduce body temperature. I mean, that does happen, right? You're putting cold. That was probably a line out of a fighter pilot movie about having, ice water in your veins or something. But, but I mean, it does work, right? So, I mean, the approach that we're taking is tempered with the fact that the aircraft can't take, I mean, even though we're in a great platform, right, it can't take unlimited weight. You can't put 6 million pounds on the hook. So it's really about that. And then the other thing is we can't do like a random, it's not ethical to do a randomized control trial with these patients. We know that ice water cooling works. And so to give it to some people and not give it to other people is not ethical. So we can't give the audience a randomized control trial today. And that's unfortunate from a data science perspective, right? But we have anecdotal evidence, which in medicine we know is not great, but we have anecdotal evidence that says that it certainly works, backed by good science that says that the technique works, right? So I think the thing that I'm looking forward to, if I know Brandon's going to continue to push the envelope on this, and he's going to figure out how to streamline the process even more and get more down to the patient within the confines of the platform. And we're just going to continue to work this problem. But I think for the listeners today, number one is making sure that they understand that exertional heat stroke's real. Number two, that there's an effective treatment for it. And number three, within their program, whatever they're flying in, or for our ground brothers and sisters, whatever they're doing, how they can start to innovatively think about this process and try and figure out how to operationalize it for their setting. I think that's the goal today.
Man, that's awesome.
Other than hanging out with you,
Hey, thanks. We're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors. Attention all rescue professionals and tactical athletes. Ready Swimmer and the Real ResQ have teamed up to bring you the ultimate solution in tactical athlete training. Developed by military rescue professionals, our team boasts over 60 years of combined experience. Elevate your performance both physically and mentally with our individualized programming. Contact us at ReadySwimmer.com or through therealrescue.com and unlock your full tactical athlete potential. The question is, are you ready? All right, Brandon. So give me a rundown. Actually, let me go into operational. Have you guys used this operational?
Yeah, we have. So last year, Austin, based on the news, had 80 days above 100 degrees. And then I think, looking at my notes, 42 days over 105 degrees. So pretty hot summer. And I'm sure it was hot everywhere else in the country as well, and probably other places around the globe. So we actually not flown it like via hoist, but we carried it on the aircraft and took it to a call 11 times, where we actually pulled it out of the aircraft and took it to the ambulance, or either lowered it down by hoist. So there's two methods so we can hoist it in, right? Or a lot of the times we'll land on scene and then we just have ice and able to cool the patient with the ambulance there. So sort of like a scene response. So we used it 11 times that we were, requested to bring it. We had 6 uses of it. So we cooled 6 patients. We deployed it 4 times on the hoist. And then there was one evolution where we deployed it on the hoist, cooled the patient in the wilderness environment, and then even extracted them in our litter all the way back up to the cabin as they're still being cooled.
No kidding. I'm going to go fine detail. What litter are you using?
So we're using the Tiermont bag.
Oh, okay, so they're in the bag. So, okay,
Yep.
The method of the madness with that question was because I wanted to know how you're sustaining, if you're keeping the water or let me use an LSC. That one's open, so anything that melts is just draining out. So now you have a way to kind of contain it. And it is a material bag, but that's better than just letting everything drain right out. Wow.
Yeah, so we're turning like this patient cocoon that we have inside out, and we're laying that on a mega mover, which is like a tarp with handles. We're putting the ice in it. We're putting the patient on it, and we sort of wrap them up like a taco, essentially. And then we can either place them in the aircraft and transport them, or place them in our Tiermont bag and hoist them, or place them in the Stokes and walk them out.
Wow. Oh, that's good stuff. I like that a lot. All right. Now I want to get into like the nitty gritty. walk us through exactly how you set it up from the aircraft. So you get a call out because this isn't, you don't store this stuff on the aircraft all the time, right? I imagine it's in the hangar, ready to go. And go ahead.
Yeah. In the summer, we're actually keeping the cooler on the aircraft filled with ice and water, not only for calls but for ourselves.
Nice.
Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah.
All right. So so I get the 4 bottles, the 4 16-ounce bottles, 30
Yep.
pounds of ice in a cooler. And then you said
Yep.
you have like a tarp.
We'll wrap out the cooler there. There's 2 liters of chilled saline total in the cooler, and then in our rescue backpack we carry a mega mover and a patient cocoon, and then there's an IV
I'm
drip
not
set in
familiar
there.
with it.
Yeah.
What is a mega mover and what is a cocoon?
It's like a purpose-built tarp, Jason. It's not as big as like an industrial tarp. It's a little bit bigger than the size of a large human, but it's got reinforced stitching all through it, and it's got handles that run around the perimeter where everybody can grab hold and kind of lift it. And there's some that you can clean and some that you throw away, but it's just a purpose-built piece of equipment to just roll somebody onto it, and then 6 people can get on the handles around it and move somebody. So that's why it's literally called a mega mover. But it folds up. You can fold it flat, and it folds flat to the size of like a king size bed sheet.
Oh wow. Oh okay.
Yeah.
So you open that up, you lay that down. So if I'm the victim, you're gonna put me on top of that, and then do what?
Yeah, so we'll have the tarp or the mega mover out. Our patient cocoon is almost like a shock blanket, but it's a little more rigid. We turn that inside out, and so like the reflective is facing the patient. We'll place the ice in it. We'll put the patient on the ice and sort of cover them the rest of the way with ice, and then we start the cooling process. So we'll stay there, get IV access, monitor the patient. And if the time comes around, our protocol states, we shouldn't initiate transport until we've lowered the patient's temperature to a certain degree, unless there's extenuating circumstances, right? And then we sort of just wrap them up, and we can, weave cravats through the handles of the mega mover, and that sort of keeps them like the taco or burrito, or people will just hold it together.
Wow. All right, so you lay the ice out first, then the patient on top of the ice.
Yeah,
Is
so
that
we'll do
right?
like half ice below, and then we'll cover the rest with the patient. Like so, we'll empty out the rest on top of the patient, so to get that
And when
full
you say
encapsulation.
when you say you're gonna put it like the ice all over the top, you're talking like all over, or do you isolate it like under the arms, in the groin, like the high areas to cool off?
So
Or
we
both?
usually have enough that we're doing chin down, so we're leaving the head out to manage the airway if we need to and assess consciousness. But usually we're able to cover the trunk, the torso, the legs, and the arms, especially the axle and groin.
Wow, no kidding.
Kind of
All right, so
when we do
go ahead, Doc.
I was just gonna say when we do it on the ground side, Jason, we don't care as much because again we have a lot larger volume of ice and water, and so we'll use big tubs or whatever we can find. The fire department may build a catch basin or whatnot, so that's easy. We just make a huge polar bear plunge, right? But since what Brandon figured out is since we have to be so thrifty with our resource because of the weight limitation, it's really important to get everything contained up next to the patient. Because we want as much water and ice and surface area contact with the victim. That's kind of where the magic happens is really being in contact with as much body surface area as you can. And you're right. I mean, those high blood flow areas are important, but really, like Brandon said, if we can just get the entire human in contact with cold water, that's where it all happens. So the purpose of it kind of cocooning them, because everybody else might be like, well, why would you wrap them up? They're hot. And that's true. We would never do that other than the fact that we're essentially wrapping them in ice cold water is the point to do that.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. With the patients that you had that you were able to use this on, do you by chance have the data from where they started temperature wise and where you brought them down to temperature wise before you moved them?
So anecdotally, nothing official here, but we've had patients range from 104 to 108 degrees as their core body temperature. And we were able to lower these patients down to our transport limit, which is around 103 degrees, and then even go lower than that. And it was interesting to see. I was able to cool a couple patients, just the mentation improvements as the patient's core temperature dropped, where if their GCS was lower, when their core temperature dropped, their GCS, and it was just fascinating.
Wow.
Jason,
Dang,
that's
that's
one of the things
incredible.
that we've had trouble with. So in the athletic training world, there's a bunch of purpose-built equipment, and we're gonna get a little granular. Is that okay? I
Absolutely.
know you say more is more, but this is going to be more, right? So in
Excellent.
athletic, they, they make thermometers that are rectal thermometers with a lead on it that's about this long, right? And
Like
so when they
4 or 5 inches, 6 inches,
go like 4 or 5 feet, yeah,
4 or 5.
it's,
Holy shit. That's
literally,
a
yeah,
rectal thermometer.
for sure. And so in their world, they will snake that thermometer up somebody's rectum to get a good core temperature, and then it's built where they can put them in the ice water with that still in place, so they can real time monitor them in the plunge, right? But like that's not equipment that we typically carry in emergency services. It's that
Right.
is one function, and we need multitaskers, right? So to Brandon's point, it's been kind of hard to know exactly, because we can check that patient's temperature centrally before we put them in the ice bath, right? But once you get them in there, a lot of the pre-hospital equipment is not built to do that. So we've really wrestled with, well, how do we know what's happening with their temperature? And Brandon hit the nail on the head. If you see this happen, if you have the right patient, their brain turns back on. After about, if you look at the graphs, again, we'll send you some links to some actual research papers that people can find online. If you look at the curve of cooling from really high temperature in ice water immersion until they get down to a safe temperature is around 10 minutes usually. And so you'll see around minutes 7, 8, 9, somewhere in there, their brain starts to turn back on. It's just like Brandon said, it's magic. They go from GCS of 4 or 5, maybe 6, to GCS, 11 or 12, where they're awake, they're talking, they're asking why they're cold, they're asking why they're in ice water, which is great, because if we didn't do that, they were never going to wake up. It's really cool.
Wow. Brandon, you had mentioned a temperature that one of them you saw somewhere around 108. Doc, I'm going to come back to you because I don't remember off the top of my head. Brain damage starts at give or take around, I want to say 105 off the top of my head and above. So you're talking people are getting so hot that it's actually literally causing brain damage to them. If we don't get them cooled off immediately, they're going to be a lost cause. Is that an accurate
Yeah,
statement? I don't want to speak too. Okay.
yeah. These patients are permanently disabled, or they die. It just happens, right? And some patients may not die right there, but they're going to die 2 or 3 days later in the ICU. And again, it's back to kind of what we talked about earlier. It's almost, they have multiple organ failure. They have multi-organ failure. And the pathology, when you look at it, it looks a lot like sepsis, which, for the listeners that don't know, is when you have an infection in your whole entire body that hurts your organs, right? So that's what we're trying to stop. And again, like we can't put people in hot water and give them heat stroke and then cool them down. That's not ethical. So we don't
Totally.
have, yeah, I mean, we don't exactly have like case controls here, right? But again, we have enough experience with enough athletes and other people that have had this, that if you will get them cooled off within 30 minutes of the onset of that critical temperature, you will probably prevent any permanent damage. And so that's what Brandon's talking about. We can't, because everybody else always asks, like, well, just take them to the hospital. We don't have time. You do not have time. By the time you get them extracted, you get them loaded, you get en route to the hospital, even though we can fly fast, right? You're going to exceed that 30-minute window. And then I challenge all of you, go to your local hospital. Okay, maybe not in Maryland. I don't know. Does it get that hot, Brandon?
Like 2 days.
Maybe. Okay, 2 days, right? So,
Two, three
okay,
days.
go to a hospital in the southern United States, right? And ask them if they have the stuff to do full body ice water immersion. I guarantee you they don't. If they do, then they're top notch, right? Because it's all about real estate. They don't have a room with a big cold plunge. That'd be kind of cool, Jason. We could after shift, we could do the cold plunge, right? But
I mean,
anyway, they
awesome.
just don't have it. Yeah, that would be great. Like, this is a bad shift. Let's go do the plunge. But yeah, they're just not set up for it. So we need to do it on our end and stop that process and save that person.
Wow. Again, it's so simple and yet so simple, but nobody's really ever, from what I know, has ever tried this. This is great. It reminds me of a lot of other things, like when we talk about going out and you see people that have like the super low sugar, the low sugars, and all of a sudden now you're giving them some sort of glucose, and now they come back. The mentality comes back like, oh yeah, I feel great. What's up? So this being like a great response of the body, like, why am I cold? I'm so happy you're cold right now. This is fantastic, and you know it's working. Um, Doc, you had mentioned like having 10 minutes, like that's kind of the study is about 10 minutes, and we start bringing the temperature down. Brandon, what did you see in the field? About how long did it take being under this ice bath that you put everybody in? How long did it take before you started seeing a mental status change,
Yeah.
I should say?
Yeah, so it varied based on the patient. So, it would take up to the 10 minutes, or it could be even lower than that. Or in some instances, it took longer. And that was sort of extenuating circumstances. So, we talk a lot about exertional heat stroke, but um, there's a lot of comorbidities that are coming with it. So maybe the person fell and they laid outside all day. Well, now it's trauma and a heat issue, or, medical, you name it. If you're outside laying down on the ground for a long period of time here in Texas in the summer, you're going to be having a heat issue with whatever problem got you to the ground at first. So there's a lot of comorbidities that we, were interestingly encountered with, and sometimes we stayed on scene for up to 30 minutes, cooling a patient where the fire department was grabbing ice from the local marina and just kept shuttling ice to us, and we just kept putting ice on the patient. Yeah.
Wow. All right, so that brings me to a couple questions. One of them, 30 minutes on scene. One of the first things I'm thinking about is like your helicopter on scene. What happens with fuel? What happens? Like those guys are turning up in the air. What are you guys thinking as far as that goes? Is that one of the things where you radio up and say, I need some time, take off? Or, hey, loiter, I need you to just hang out for like 10 more minutes until we cool? How does that work for
Yeah.
you guys?
Yeah, luckily we have the 169 AW 169 aircraft, so the 30-minute call was a scene response, so they were able to shut down the APU mode and sort of conserve some fuel. But if that were to encounter in the wilderness, it would be a radio call. And then with that, it was taking a while that I even called medical control to be like, hey, this is taking a bit. We're taking a lot of ice. At what point should we move?
Yeah. Okay. Another question, caveat to that one is what happens when you got to hoist all that in? And they tell you, hey guys, you've got like 15 minutes and then we got to go get fuel. Are
Yeah.
you okay? Do you have enough resources with you and ice to, to have that? Or do you have a contingency plan?
Yeah, so in the wilderness environment, when we're limited to the hoist, we're going to bring what we can and start that cooling process, and that may be a temporary band-aid until maybe an ATV gets ice there, or people hike ice in, or we just start that cooling process, and at least they're being cooled while we extract the patient.
And that's, yeah. And Jason, to kind of build on that, like in Texas, it's interesting because in our area, we have some very remote area that Starflight serves. We've got a lot of really cool parks, state parks, and a lot of really austere areas. Even in Austin, Texas, Austin, for people that have been there, they know there's a ton of green belt. There's a lot of places you can really kind of go get lost. But the nice thing is we're still not that far from a pocket of civilization, right? So a lot of our area rural fire departments have ice machines or things like that. So to Brandon's point, if he started, utilizing his resources and it wasn't enough, the nice thing is they could probably bring the victim in the cabin and just lily pad hop over to an LZ at a fire station where they know there's an ice machine and continue the process or whatever that is. So, even a 2-minute extraction and a 5-minute flight may be worth that pause or that, kind of moderation and cooling to get to where you have additional resources to do it. So, but what we found, and I think messaging about how to do this, it's about logistics, right? So how do you do this in your community? Where are these resources, right? We have almost like a lot of people have pre-planned LZs. Even on the ground side, we have pre-planned cooling locations, right? So we know which fire stations have ice machines and water, and we almost have like a heat stroke response plan in our region to get victims to these resources. So It's just really about working the environment, working your situation, and knowing what your logistics are going to be.
Man, that is awesome. We're going to divert real quick to thank our sponsors, the RealResQStore.com, your shop for all your podcast-worthy gear. From comfortable shirts to cozy mugs, we've got everything to showcase your love for your favorite podcast. So what are you waiting for? Head to the RealResQStore.com and let your gear do the talking. I'm going to throw my own, like, if I was there with you, Brandon, so you and I are on scene together. This is going to be fun for you and I, all right?
I'd love that, yeah.
When the helicopter tells us, yeah, right, it'd be awesome. So we go down and we have a victim and the helicopter tells us, hey, you guys got like 15 minutes tops. Would you be comfortable with, and Doc, back me up on this if you no-go, but we set the Terramount bag up, we roll out the mat, we drop the ice in, we drop the patient in, we wrap them up in that Terramount bag, and we're ready to hoist right now within that 15 minutes. And that cooling process is started during the hoist. Is that something that you guys would consider doing and you'd be okay with? Or am I just shooting from the hip and saying, it's too much?
No, I agree. I think that'd be a fine plan. And it's sort of, you think about it logistically, it's like, what's going to take longer? Me sitting here and waiting for more ice, or just getting extracted into the cabin? And, because the cooling process has already been started, that's what we want. And is it quicker to just load and go, iced up essentially, or stay and wait for more? So I agree. I think you could do that. Yeah.
Brandon, I'm going to work with you anytime you want. Let's go.
That sounds great.
Go ahead, Doc. Sorry.
I mean, I'm sure there's a couple open shifts that, you could pick up if you want. So,
yeah. Let's go.
No, I'm just going to say, that's what's brilliant about what Brandon came up with is since that is a high, we use the term bang for your buck type package, right? Then the weight's not ridiculous. That would be the situation where you probably could bring it all up with the rescuer and still be okay, with the hoist. For our listeners, right? Heat stroke is really a continuum. Some of these patients are going to be breathing fine on their own. But a few of these patients will be so far down that they will need airway management, right? So that would be, to your point, that would be the only thing that would probably delay that process is if Brandon or the rescuer had to do some quick airway management. They focus heavily on kind of a rescue medicine approach where at that point we don't do anything fancy, right? It may be just a supraglottic airway and go or something really simple, but that would be the only thing is if you had to do a little quick airway management or seizure treatment or something like that. But cooling is still absolutely the priority that has to happen while you're doing all those other things.
Nice. All right. This is thrown out to both you guys, right? So, Brandon, a high-speed paramedic. I mean, I assume FPC is probably a pretty good assumption working down there.
Yeah.
And that's only because of Steph. I'm calling that out. Doc, high-speed doc, ER, been working on this stuff a lot. Well, we have a lot of agencies that are out in our nation and or around the world that they don't have your medical standard. Like the guys are running at EMT basic levels. Is this something that you guys could sign off for, an EMT basic, to say, hey guys, this is what you're going to do. You can't do IV fluids because we're not at that level, but we can do this method and it will help your patients.
100%.
I'm just getting a nodding of yes. Okay.
No, Jason, 100%. No, I know Brandon wanted to jump on that. It is so simple. Like again, we need to train everybody how to recognize this and how to treat it. Whether you're a volunteer football coach in a community, or whether you're an EMT, or whether you're a paramedic, right? It does not matter if you can recognize the sign of heat stroke, right? Which we define it pretty easily, right? So, Jason, for us, if they can't measure the temperature, it's any neurological symptom plus a story for extreme heat exposure, right? So even if they can't measure the temperature, if they walk up to a football field and they've been doing 2-a-days in the Texas heat, and this kid is altered and goofy, then our presumption is going to be heat stroke until proven otherwise, right? Because the downside, people always ask about this: can you overshoot? Can you make somebody hypothermic? And the answer is yes, you absolutely can. The demographic for that is usually going to be a younger, smaller child or an older, more frail adult, because heat stroke happens to them too. But the nice thing is that mild, and Jason, I've listened to your podcast. I know you've been hypothermic before. I know you don't like it a lot, but like, until it gets really extreme, right? It's not going to hurt you. It's something that's miserable and it's got to wear off, right? But if we cause mild to moderate hypothermia, that's probably not going to kill that person. The heat stroke is going to kill them. So we teach to recognize the signs and symptoms, start cooling, and then we want to be as accurate as we can be. So talking to all my fire brothers and sisters out there, they don't like getting a core temp. They don't like anything that has to do with the back, the rear end, right? But they can do it, right? I know. None of us signed on for that, right? But even just using a cheap throwaway store-bought thermometer and getting a quick one-time measurement, it's believe it or not, it's not an invasive procedure, right? Everybody can be trained to do it. So even an EMT can get a quick core temp and figure out what they need to do with cooling. So yeah, absolutely BLS, 100%.
Cool. Man, that's fantastic.
Just don't reuse the thermometer.
Don't. Oh, that's funny. Brandon, you guys have talked about this quite a bit as far as packing or having a cooler full of ice on the helicopter ready to go. 30 pounds. That's quite a bit. That's like 15 kilos. Look at me flipping that real quick, huh? That was good. I'm just saying. All right. So with that, I mean, that's a hoist in. That's easy to do. But for the guys that are on the ground and stuff that are hiking that in, do you have something else that you use, or?
The problem that we encountered was sort of how can we help our partner agencies, right, and help our patients at the same time. So the group of us at Starflight, came up with this is because ice is heavy, right, and it's over 100 degrees. The rescuers that are hiking in via land are already taking a bunch of equipment. It's an additional workload to take 30 pounds of ice and just haul that down the trail. So that's sort of where we introduced the helicopter to either land the ice or the hoist to either insert the ice to sort of take the workload off the ground rescuers so that, we could help them out, take some workload off them and not stress them out as much because, we don't want them becoming patients as well. So in the development of this, that's what we would want to push out is, get with your local agencies that have helicopters or your ground rescue agencies and see what kind of partnerships you can come up with, because maybe the helicopter is not medically trained. Maybe it's just a strict police helicopter or something like that. They could team up with an EMS agency and you could, solve that patient problem right there by you could be the one that hoists the ice in. So, this model that we sort of developed, I think can be used across the nation, and sort of picking and poking where it fits.
Brandon, I'm going to go a step further and say this method can be used around the world.
Well,
don't just stop here, my friend, because we got people that listen around the world. And I know it gets hot down in Australia. I know it gets hot down in South Africa. So I know it gets hot here in Saudi Arabia. I am bringing this to a couple people I know already.
It's a dry heat, right?
Of course, yeah, right. No. Thank God, no. This is amazing.
Just to Brandon's point, Jason, one thing, at least domestically, I don't know what the crossover is, in the UK or Australia or whatever, but if somebody calls 911 in the United States, chances are they're going to hit a 911 center that uses some kind of emergency medical dispatch protocols. There's a lot of them out there. A popular one, I have no conflict, but ProQA. There's a heat stroke category, right? So even to Brandon's point, if you want to build this out another layer and you want to make sure that those resources get mobilized, you can actually build in a response package based on the emergency 911 telecommunicator putting in that dispatch code of a heat stroke. So that could mobilize all kinds of different things. And the cool thing now is the CADs, the computer dispatch systems, they can build in these little polygons where maybe in downtown Austin, next to a hospital, we don't send the resources, but if it's in the Greenbelt or if it's in one of our state parks or something, that it dispatches not only the fire rescue unit, not only the ambulance, but also a helicopter with the heat stroke package. So people can really take the logistics of this a long way and they can really make it fancy, but it can be simple too.
You mentioned the logistics and taking this step further. Brandon, you got 2.0 coming over? What's the next idea with this?
Well, nothing officially planned for version 2.0. I think, we had several uses of it last year, so it was a proof of concept, and sort of everybody's aware of it now, and sort of just implementing it more into our, toolbox. It may not be the right tool for every patient, but we're going to have that in our toolbox ready to deploy and, spread that awareness so that we can help patients around the globe.
Right on. Hey, that's what we're trying to do. Spread the love.
Yeah.
Dropping some knowledge. I'm all about it.
Yes. Cool.
All right, guys. So you guys have come up with this amazing way to rapidly cool somebody that's in some sort of hyperthermia, just heat-related accident. For the people that are out there that don't know where to begin but love this idea and want to implement it, where can they go and where do they start?
Jason, I guess I'll start from just the medical resources standpoint. So there's a lot of good information online. Again, I'm not affiliated in any way, but the Corey Stringer Institute is good. There's a lot of information that people can find there. We will be more than happy to share our protocols that we've developed for heat stroke management. From a medical standpoint, the place to start is recognition. Recognize heat stroke, right? Remember, it's a story for heat exposure plus any neurologic abnormality until proven otherwise. So that's step one, is recognition. And then step two is starting to train your local community and the local first responders that we have to cool and then transport. Otherwise, again, we're just bringing them a victim that may not recover. So from that standpoint, that's where to begin on the clinical side.
Cool. And then, Brandon, any hiccups that you might have had that you can help people out? So when they get started with this, they're like, oh, no, this is what we ran into, and this is easy to overcome. What do you got? Anything?
No, I mean, I encourage everybody, I fly the line, I'm being so close to the problem that I'm able to, formulate with my teammates a solution to it. So, there's multitudes of issues in EMS, but, if you find a solution to that problem, this was all grassroots. So we brought it to our management. Our management, supported us in doing this. And then from our formulation of the plan, we disseminated it to our partners. So I encourage everybody that's, working the line, flying the line. Like, if you have a solution to a problem, definitely build upon that. Create, put that solution out there because it's going to help somebody. As far as issues that we encountered, no, not really. I mean, it was sort of just finding the perfect balance of how much to bring versus how much is too much. And, that I think we have a good amount to start the process and continue on.
Perfect. You had mentioned a little bit about teamwork in there. And I know you guys have an amazing team down there that works together. So do you want to elaborate on any of that?
It wasn't all me. It was like a group effort to, develop this response and just see how much something basic can help the patients. I was like, wow, I would have never thought of this or never even considered it working in like a colder environment. It'd be like, oh, we'll take them into the AC, but now this is great. And then that pretty much if it's exertional heat stroke and you start that cooling process within 10 minutes, I believe it's reversible, right, Doc? 100% reversible.
That's pretty cool.
They will get better.
Yeah. And there was a pun in there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
I got to throw at least one in there.
That's
so
good.
hot right now.
That's awesome. Thanks, Doc. Guys, I cannot thank you enough for coming on and dropping this knowledge. I hope it goes beyond what you could possibly imagine. Just getting information like this out there, I think is super important, and I hope it goes well. So it should be well received, and I hope agencies come back and can give you guys a full report of what they're doing. So appreciate you coming on and sharing the story.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Thanks for spreading the word. And yeah, if any agencies do, have better solutions, definitely feel free to reach out or how it impacted them. That'd be great. Come see Dr. Ratcliff and I at Echo. We'll be there in the fall and present on a similar topic.
Where's it going to be? Let's see, somewhere cooler.
Richmond,
Virginia.
Right.
You know what? I'm going to shout that out right as well. You guys are presenting at the Echo Conference this year in Richmond, Virginia. And the dates off the top of my head are going to be in October. No, I'm lying. September of 2024. It should be the 29th through actually October 2nd. And you guys are going to be presenting there on this exact topic. So I'm excited to hear about it. I hope I can get out there to check it out with you guys and see it firsthand. So
That'd be
it'll
great.
be good.
Sounds great. Thank you.
Gentlemen, I so thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure having you guys here. If there's ever anything I can do for you guys, please let me know. Other than that, I'll try to see you at Echo.
Sounds great.
Sounds
Thank
good.
you.
Thanks,
You're
Jason.
very welcome. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here.
Go.
Now, it's time for me to pull chocks and take off. But before I go, I'm always looking for the memorable rescues that people have done. If you have one that you're willing to share or know somebody who has a story, please feel free to reach out to me. I'd love to highlight it here at the Real ResQ. For everybody that is standing by for that SAR alarm, remember, those in distress are praying for a miracle. They are going to get you. So until next time, fly safe and swim hard. Thank you for joining me today here at the Real ResQ Podcast, powered by Vertical Helicast. We'd also like to say thank you to our sponsors for this episode, therealrescuestore.com. Your shop for all your podcast-worthy gear. From comfortable shirts to cozy mugs, we've got everything to showcase your love for your favorite podcast. So what are you waiting for? Head to therealrescuestore.com and let your gear do the talking. And attention all rescue professionals and tactical athletes. Ready Swimmer and the Real ResQ have teamed up to bring you the ultimate solution in tactical athlete training. Developed by military rescue professionals, our team boasts over 60 years of combined experience. Elevate your performance both physically and mentally with our individualized programming. Contact us at ReadySwimmer.com or through TheRealResQ.com and unlock your full tactical athlete potential. The question is, are you ready?
Well. It's not Brandon Simon who thought he could go on the Real ResQ podcast and not tell me that you were going to be on there. You know that I am Real ResQ podcast royalty, right? Episode 14. That's right. You owe me a beer, by the way. And just because you're doing your thing out there and you think you know Quinn and you're going to go play with him, that's fine. Your little episode still owes me a beer, and I will still collect when it's time.